I'm sick and tired of people perpetuating this message. Rock Lee is not a wasted character, and I'm tired of hearing this horrible take. It's not funny anymore, tell different jokes. The main issue with people who claim that Lee is wasted is that they don't even have a consistent measurement to determine when a character is wasted or not. Furthermore, they don't even have a consistent grading system to determine what a good character is. When it comes to writing, there are varying degrees of objectivity and subjectivity. It takes a lot of studying to really come close to the truth, or at least come up with something that works. Through my studying, I've developed a list of elements that a well-rounded, well-written character should have. 1. Personality. The character needs to have a memorable and entertaining personality. 2. Values. The character needs to have a consistent set of values, which are tested to show who they truly are at their core. The character needs to take actions that show these values. 3. Goal. The character needs to have a goal that they are trying to achieve, or a purpose in life. 4. Background. The character needs to have a background that provides context for things in the present, like their personality or goal. 5. Character arc. The character needs to have at least one character arc, which is a shift in belief and or a shift in personality. Alternatively, they could have a flat character arc, which is where they either change the people around them or keep the same belief/trait through adversity. 6. Subplot. The character needs to have a subplot with them as the main character. Character arcs usually fulfill this. These are the 6 requirements I have for a well-rounded character. A character can still be well-written if they're missing some of these, but one that has all is a jack of all trades, hence well-rounded. Is Rock Lee a well-rounded character? Let's find out. Personality. I usually find that turning a specific trait up to 11 is the easiest way to make a distinguished personality. Lee definitely has one. His main traits are his fiery energy, determination, and kindness. All of these are at least at a 10, which results in a distinct and memorable character. I definitely find him entertaining. Furthermore, there are scenes that highlight how strong these traits are in him. His kindness is shown when he saves Sakura, someone who isn't a teammate, when he wished Sasuke, his rival, good luck in his match, and when he was happy that Naruto, who's not a teammate, beat Neji, who is a teammate. His determination is shown all throughout his fight with Gaara. Values. Once again, choosing between 2 difficult choices shows what a character values. Lee absolutely has clearly defined values. He values protecting those that need protection. The first example is when he saves Sakura in the Forest of Death, despite it hurting his chances of passing the stage. Pass the exam or save someone in need. He chose saving. Sakura was not on his team, and helping her wouldn't have increased his chances of passing and ranking up, yet he prioritized saving her because she was in danger. The smaller example is when he saved the chipmunk from a bomb right before this scene. Another example is when Temari threw an unconscious Tenten. Lee hopped into the ring to catch her body, and even tried to avenge her. Rock Lee values proving that he's a splendid ninja. Before his character arc, which I'll get to, he valued this over the cost of his health. Have your career as a ninja, or prove your greatness now. He chose to prove his greatness in his match against Gaara at the cost of his physical health. Gaara did a lot of damage, but a lot of it was self-inflicted by the 8 gates, a choice Lee willingly made. Finally, a more minor value is fairness in rules. When trying to get to the written exam, Lee let himself be attacked and stopped Sasuke from attacking the other guy because they weren't in an official match. When Naruto tried to avenge Hinata, Lee stopped him because he wasn't in an official match. Against Kimimaro, he politely asked for a timeout because it was time for him to take his medicine. The one time I remember him breaking this was when he kicked at Temari after she threw Tenten, but that could be explained by him being livid. So Rock Lee has values that are tested and hardened. Goal. Lee has a goal. He wants to prove that he's a splendid ninja. Background. Lee's background explains that Lee can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu. It explains why Lee has his goal. It explains how Guy became his sensei, and it explains how Lee got his fighting style in jutsu. These are all large parts of Lee's character, so this is a solid background. Character arc. I believe Rock Lee had 2 character arcs. The first one I'm sure of. This is in his flashback. When he was on Team Guy, he believed that he could never beat Neji, and that his hard work wasn't paying off. Guy taught him to believe in his hard work, and ever since then, he's never doubted himself. He had no fear fighting Gaara, and even believed that he could win. His second character arc is learning not to harm himself for his goal. I haven't reread all of Naruto, but I'm pretty sure this is an arc. In his fight against Gaara, he messed up his body and still got back up after he was unconscious, all for the goal of proving his greatness with only taijutsu. The story kinda paints this in a bad light through Kakashi's criticisms, Guy saying that he didn't have to fight anymore because he proved himself, and Lee's dire condition afterwards. After this arc, Lee never pushes himself like this again, not against Kimimaro or against Madara. Guy, however, does push himself when he unlocks the 8th gate, but there's a major difference. Guy wasn't doing it for a selfish reason, like achieving his goal. He was doing it for a selfless reason, protecting his allies and saving the world by killing a world-ending threat. I don't know if this second arc was intentional, but it seems to be there. Finally, subplot. During the Chunin exams, Lee definitely had his own subplot. His entire journey of being the hardworking taijutsu master was his subplot. Here's a good measurement for subplots. If you can take all of a character's important scenes from when they supposedly had their subplot and make a movie out of it, that character had a subplot. You can do that with Lee in the exams, but what's cooler is that it doesn't end there. It continues into the Sasuke recovery arc. After he's injured, Tsunade gives him the option to have surgery, but there's a chance that the surgery will kill him. Lee and Guy talk about it and they both decide to go through it. After this, he's able to somewhat fight again and saves Naruto at a pivotal point. Furthermore, he meets back up with the man who is partially responsible for damaging his body, forgives him, and works with him to defeat a new enemy. That's almost a storybook ending. So by my rubric, I've proven that Rock Lee is a well-rounded character, but I'm not done. There's one important thing that I forgot to mention. Rock Lee is a supporting character. There's no agreed upon definition of a supporting character, but based on its name, it's a character who is not the protagonist or main character, but they do have a degree of importance. This is how I would explain it. A main character carries the story, or drives the story. The supporting character supports it. They aren't meant to do the heavy lifting. The story doesn't rest on their shoulders, but they can lighten the load by lifting the story a little. They're like role players in team sports. With all of that said, all I expect from a supporting character is that they 1. Pay off all setups that they started, and 2. Make the story better through their inclusion. That's it. In my recent JJK video, I said supporting characters need a subplot. The setup and payoff is the same thing, it's just a more clear way of defining it. If they don't have a subplot, that's a problem. Yet, Lee met both of these requirements. He had a goal, he accomplished it. He had beef with Gaara, he mended it. And I don't think I need to prove that he made the story better, otherwise people wouldn't be complaining that he was wasted, right? If you expect any more from a supporting character than paying off their setups and making the story better, you're tripping. They're not the main character. A story is supposed to be focused on the main character. The reason supporting characters have less development and importance is so that they don't become distractions from the focus of the story. Remember, supporting characters support the story. They don't carry it. They don't drive it. So once again, did Lee make the story better through his inclusion? Did he tie up all loose threads and pay off all setups? Yes and yes. But I'm not done. I'm gonna make it even clearer how relevant Lee is to the story of Naruto. For hero characters, there are multiple tiers. In tier 1 is the protagonist, the main character, Naruto. In tier 2, there are the characters who constantly surround the main character, people who are in the MC's team. That would be Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. Maybe Sai and Yamato, but they come late, so maybe they'd be in tier 2.5. Then there's tier 3, which is where characters like Shikamaru and Lee are. The further away a character is from the main character, the less the writer needs to do with them. If Lee was a tier 2 character, I would expect a little more from him, at least in his plot relevance, but he's tier 3. Hold on, there's actually one thing I left out from the character element discussion. That rubric for well-rounded characters is designed for protagonists. I expect all 6 elements from the protagonist of a story, since they drive the story. The less important a character is, the less development they require. No writer in their right mind is going to give the Ichiraku ramen guy a character arc, background, and a goal, because that would be distracting from the focus of Naruto's story. My point is that the supporting characters don't need to have all 6 elements for a well-rounded character. They just need to pay off their setups and make the story better. But Lee went above and beyond. He satisfied all 6 elements despite being a tier 3 character. You should be thanking Kishimoto for giving us a character like this. You should be on your knees kissing his feet. All supporting characters in any story that are this well-rounded should be praised endlessly. Yet so many of you are sitting in your rooms crying because you wanted to see more of your favorite character. Part of that is because you just don't take writing seriously and lack media literacy and just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Another part of that is the reality that most of you just think that the truth for a lot of you is that you just wanted Lee to be the main character. You wanted to see more of him because he was such an amazing side character. You wanted to see him fight more and win more battles, but you need to face facts. Lee was a supporting character. He was created for a specific purpose, and he went above and beyond. His inclusion in Shippuden is just the cherry on top. It wasn't even needed, and you should be grateful it was included. Iruka is the perfect example of a tier 3 or lower supporting character. His whole setup and payoff was that he was a fake opponent ally. Initially, it seemed like he was Naruto's enemy, but at the end of chapter 1, there's the plot twist that he really respects Naruto. He defended Naruto from Mizuki, physically and verbally, then he allowed Naruto to graduate. He made the story better through these powerful scenes. By the end of chapter 1, he was a complete character. I didn't need to see more from him, and there was nothing he could do to become wasted. Yet we still got more of him in the exams and the war, and I appreciate that. Zabuza and Haku are other great examples. They came in, tied up all their loose threads, and made the story better with their existence. Are you going to sit there and tell me that Zabuza and Haku are wasted? Or do the rules change when a character dies? Does every single living character need to be constantly impacting the plot? All the underlying arguments to Lee being wasted are so stupid. It's possible that I was too harsh on JJK when I named all the wasted characters. I forgot Nobara had a flat character arc about ethics in her introduction, and Nanami had a character arc about going from not respecting Yuji as a sorcerer to respecting him. I'd have to reread the manga to ensure that none of the other characters I called wasted had any subplots that I missed. But from my memory, they didn't have any, at least not in JJK proper, not counting Jujutsu Kaisen 0. In conclusion, Lee is not wasted. He is a supporting character that went above and beyond his requirements. He's a well-rounded, well-written character that paid off all his setups and made the story better through his inclusion. Other dumb takes are Chad and Orihime were wasted. I could cover that in another video, but it would get more complicated. For Chad, there might be a hint of an argument, but for Orihime, absolutely not. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.